We have a 28-year-old son and a 23-year-old son. This is Brian. My oldest son, Andrew. It's funny how it happened. He came home one day from kindergarten and crying that we weren't a family. And I'm like, what do you mean we're not a family? You, mommy, daddy, we're a family. And he says, no, you don't understand. I don't have any brothers or sisters, so we're not a family. So we had never really thought about having a second child, and we decided, well, maybe now is the time. Things were going good at work. We were in our new house, and we decided, all right, this was the time. Brian was born 5 years, almost to the day of Andrew's birthday. Brian is October 30th, and Andrew's October 31st, so they're 5 years apart. Okay, everything seemed normal.
You walked at 9 months?
He walked very early. Things were going well. He even had some words early. His first birthday party was a Barney-themed party, and he was running around and he was jumping on Grandma's lap, saying, Barney, 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 pointing. Everything was great. About a week later, he came down with the infection, and sure enough, after that, he was on antibiotics. A month later, he had his MMR shot, and about a month after that is when we started seeing some changes in him. Very noticeable changes. We asked our pediatrician about it, and he basically says, well, Brian is different from Andrew, so don't worry about it. Don't compare them. He'll be fine. And we went along with it. I kept getting more concerned. He lost whatever words he had. He lost visual eye contact.
He started scanning objects, but it was not all at once. It was one thing, and then maybe a week later or 2 weeks later, something else that you kind of didn't notice right away until all of them grouped together.
But they all went downhill. It wasn't like some things went away but then got better.
No, never got better.
Never got better.
The pediatrician, stay there, buddy. The pediatrician says, well, if you're concerned, go have his ears tested. He thought maybe there was something there. So we took him to an audiologist. The first audiologist, without even trying, determined that Brian was deaf. And we knew that wasn't the case. So we insisted on having a second test.
Different audiologist?
With a different audiologist. The second test proved that Brian's hearing was perfect. That was not the issue.
We left the door open because when we do a test, it's like a closed door, and they, I guess, put different noises to see where he looks at. So he didn't want the door closed. But as soon as the door was a little bit open, he was responding to all the sounds.
Right. He stayed in the little booth, and he did everything he had to do. So we scratched the idea that he might be deaf. We finally took him to a neurologist, and at 18 months, he was diagnosed.
Yeah, Dr. Trappel diagnosed him right away.
Tina, would you mind leaning forward a little bit? I'm having a little trouble seeing you. This way I can get all of you. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Better?
Now, yes. Now, go on with what you're saying. Maybe back up just a little bit tell me about the diagnosis.
At 18 months, Brian was diagnosed with PDD, which is on the autism spectrum.
Yeah, pervasive mental disorder. And Dr. Trappel did that diagnostic, and he was accurate.
Tell me what it is again? PDD?
Pervasive developmental disorder, which to me is the same thing as autism, just coded.
Right. So, at that point, they suggested that we get him into early intervention.
How old was he at that point?
He was about 18 months. 18 months. We went looking around, and we put him into UCP in Comac, their early intervention program. He was there for about a year.
Yes.
He was there for about a year. Then he aged out, so we looked for another program for him. He went briefly to AHRC in Hapag.
In UCP, is that you have reached the next level after kindergarten, whatever you call it, and I did not like the setup. They didn't know what the classroom was going to be, so as far as I was concerned, they weren't prepared, or they weren't sure what, at the time wasn't really a lot like now. not everybody knew about autism, and it's kind of shady what they were gonna do or teach or approach the subject. So he went to AHRC in Comac.
Right. He was there for only about 6 months. We weren't really happy with the program, so we started searching around for something else.
Clear. Brian is 28?
23.
23. Oh,
23 years old.
Brian is 23.
So we had a neighbor across the street. God bless her. She was like an angel. Her name was Edna, and she had a son with Down syndrome. And she talked to us
About
and-
DEI.
about DDI, and as a parent living in Brentwood, we couldn't even fathom letting our 2-year-old take a bus all the way to Huntington. But we went to visit the program, and we were very happy with it. We thought that was the best spot for Brian, so we made the decision to do that. Brian was in the Little Plains facility at DDI till he was about 9 years old.
Yes.
And as you can see, he's a big boy. Usually they keep the kids there till about 11 or 12.
He
but
didn't fit in the seats.
He outgrew the chairs. He outgrew the tables. So we had to move him to their older facility, which is in Hollywood Drive. He had a great time there. He was there till he was 21 years old, when he eventually aged out into the adult world. Still being serviced by DDI.
Yes, we visit a lot of different programs to see what's available for adults, what they teach, because with Brian, he's so noise sensitive, and he doesn't like to witness behaviors from other individuals. So we have to see, how does he run? Is there an open room? Do they have classrooms? What kind of population do you serve? What do they do? And we have to take that in consideration.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that, the kind of sensitivities that Brian has?
Brian is very sensitive. Well, he used to have stimulatory behaviors in the beginning. He broke 2 beds, about 4 TVs, VCRs, forget it. I end up learning how to fix them. Break tapes, I learned how to fix them. But noise, he does not like noise. He'll put his hands on his ears and he will actually complain, especially if he hears a baby cry. And he's sensitive to how people talk to him. If you're not like kind words or attitude or voice,
He's very aware of people's...
he'll react to that.
Yeah.
And kind of, okay, get away from me, I don't want to see you again.
Look at
Or
the camera, buddy.
if you're friends with him, like he had, an instructor, and then another individual comes to the program, and now the instructor has to divide his attention, he got very upset because he's not paying attention to me. So he knows what he wants. He will pick colors of underwear, per se. If I pick a wrong color or a color that he doesn't want at the moment now, and he goes and picks his own shirts, he'll pick his own. Even food, he'll say yes or no. He's very picky with foods too. He doesn't eat everything. I mean,
Seems very healthy.
Yeah.
yeah, the doctor said that he has a very good diet compared to all individuals with autism in this spectrum. But he tried to vitamins and other things.
Does Brian like music?
Oh yeah, all the movies that he likes, even YouTube or so, music. He likes music. Yes.
What kind of music?
According to the people, probably doesn't watch age-appropriate music. He likes Sesame Street and Barney, children's songs, and other ones. And
Anything that has a lively lilt to,
Dancing kind of thing.
Yeah, he likes all of that. He doesn't likes to watch serious things. He'll sit with me for a little while to watch a ball game.
bowling.
Bowling stuff on TV. He likes.
Does Brian bowl?
He used to bowl. Now he doesn't go too much anymore. He
Yeah.
used to do Special Olympics bowling.
He'll do the one on the tablet, and then he gets all excited when he's with strike.
Brian likes to use the tablet.
Brian
Yes,
uses the iPad. He has a speech application on his iPad.
Which one? Prolo Pro? That one?
No, it's from Apple. The Apple
App.
Touch. I think Touch, right?
I'm not sure exactly what the app's
It's
called.
the Apple.
What does it do?
Well, he has that program. You open it up as different icons, and each icon, if you touch it, opens up in different things. He has personal, school, community.
So does he communicate this way
Yes.
to tell you what he wants?
Right. It's a
Yes.
communication device
Yes.
in an app
Yes,
on his iPad.
and his iPad. He has his own laptop that he uses
Great.
very well, and his TV, DVD, and he organizes all his movies. He has about 150 movies, DVDs.
Got to be more than that.
He rearranges. I don't know what order, but if you go and change it, he'll put it right back to the beginning.
Sit with us. Sit with us.
It is.
You want to
It's
go?
okay.
You want to say goodbye?
Say
goodbye. Brian, you did very well. Thank
You
you.
did great.
Thank you for hanging out.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, his attention span is very limited, especially this time of the evening.
So his room has a whole shelf of books. He likes books, and two bookshelves of DVDs. Okay, so he has, like I said, about maybe 200 DVDs, and he watches totally variety. He'll be watching Avatar, and then he goes to Barney, then he'll go to Seinfeld. So we're not sure.
But you don't really know how much he's getting, because those are complicated shows that you just told me.
Yeah.
About. But maybe he just likes the visual, or do you think
He likes the visual. He likes the in the movies. He likes a lot of the music, and he'll constantly rewind back to a certain part of the video.
Avatar, I sat and watched what he does. When they were flying, the blue creatures were flying and talking weird language, he kept going to it, back and forth, back and forth. So he liked, I'm not sure. Or he'll watch Western.
It's just there's no rhyme or reason to what he does or what he likes.
And he was just on the YouTube. I even told him, I said, he's watching something that's to do with bowling. I'm not sure what it is, but they're bowling, and there's a guy talking about bowling, and he's watching it. And one time I went there and was like, if you want to purchase the car now, do this. And he had a car in the screen, so I'm not sure what, how much he understands, but he has a huge range of interests that we're really not sure why.
Right. Brian's home life, for the most part, he stays in his room, for the most part. When we have relatives or family down, he'll come down for a little while, just, obligatory hello, goodbye.
Does he, he must, I guess, from what you told me, knows who different people are for their relatives?
Yes.
And recognizes them?
Yeah, he'll recognize he has a lot of younger cousins, on my wife's side. So, he'll come down, he'll acknowledge them, but he won't interact with them to that much. He knows my mother, and he understands that my mother's an older woman now. My mom lives away. When she comes here, he ignores her because she's left him alone, and he doesn't like that. But then after a day or two, he'll warm up to her. He remembers her.
But when he was younger, for example, she was watching him, and she was going upstairs to say something to him, don't do this or whatever, or come down to eat. So she kept going up, and he wasn't coming down. So the last time she went up, he held her hand, and she thought it was so nice. He was holding her hand and walking the hallway. He put her out of his room and then slammed the door.
Went back into his room and closed it. So.
Or my niece, she used to talk, and he was laughing with her, and they were sitting here, and then he moved to this couch, and she came and talked to him, and he goes to her, ah! So he didn't want to hear her because she was talking too much, and that was bothering him. So even though he doesn't speak, he'll let you know what he doesn't want.
Good, bad. He's very close with his brother. They horse around a lot.
Andrew helps us a lot. His older brother.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, if I start telling you, I'll get very upset. I'll get very misty. Andrew is, like I said, 5 years older than Brian. Okay, when he was a young child, and he realized that Brian had some issues, and just like any other parent, we discussed what the future is going to be like, and whenever we would mention the fact that eventually Brian would have to go into a assisted living facility or something like that,
a group home,
Andrew would always
get
say
upset about
he'd
it.
get upset. He'd say, "No, no way, no way." And Brian will always be with me. He was very close to his brother. He
And Brian feels that. Like,
Oh, I'm sure
like,
he does.
Like there is a closeness that is mutual.
Yes, yes. Andrew was a very good student in high school. He scored very high on his SATs. He could have picked any college he wanted to go to and write his own ticket. Um, One day during his senior year, my sister says to him, "So Andrew, where you going to school? Where did you decide you're going to go?" He had scholarships all over the place.
He didn't tell us.
He didn't tell us. He told my sister. He says, "I'm staying home. Mom and Dad, they need me here. I can't go anywhere."
So you went to Stony Brook?
He went to Stony Brook. He got his degree in accounting, which is what he liked. During his senior year, he interned at DDI. And immediately, 3 days after graduation, he was full-time DDI in the administrative part.
In the finance department.
Finance department. One of his goals, one of his things that he does is, applies for grants for the state and everything for Brian. Yeah, not for Brian himself, but for the school.
Budgets and things like that.
He wanted to be by his brother, and till this day, he's still working at DDI.
As an accountant.
So his brother really influenced his life.
Yes.
Yes.
In a big way.
Yes.
In terms of the long-term future,
Mm-hmm.
what do you see for Brian? For it's a hard subject, but
It is because there's no housing. There's no housing. Sometimes you hear all these stories, and I'm like, I can't see myself. I cannot imagine Brian being in a home. Because, like everywhere, you have good stuff, you have bad stuff, and, you don't know what you're getting. And then in my head is always that whole thing.
We always thought, at least I always thought, that eventually there'll come a time where we'll put him on a list, and, hopefully, that list will call on him, and if we were ready, he would, go to a facility, because it's not fair to him to be with us forever. He should be with his peers. I think, a lot of people that we've spoke to, their individuals learned a lot more by working with other individuals, their peers. So we thought that would be the best thing for Brian when the time was right. When the time was right. We're learning now that with the ever increasing shortage of beds and shortage of space, now it's no longer a list. Now it's by need only.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I was to pass away, or my wife was to pass away, or we become incapacitated where we can't, take care of our child, then and only then is when they would open up a housing in an emergency situation.
Yes.
Which kind of put us a little worried because we're not getting any younger. As you can see, before Brian walked away, he's a big boy. He has a lot of needs. We do have some help, but that help is not going to be around forever. My son Andrew, even though he's really dedicated his life to his brother, he's got his own life to live.
It's not fair to him also.
What does he say about it? Does he say anything about this?
I'm sorry?
Does Andrew ever talk about the future?
We haven't really.
We've kind of like kept that.
Kind of staying away from the subject so that
Right.
you don't want to get him started because he might want to
Right.
help.
I mean, I know one day he's gonna meet a nice girl. He's gonna get married, hopefully, and he's still home now, but he is thinking about it's time for him to move on. We all feel the same way. He helps us tremendously with Brian.
We have a wedding, a baby shower or so, and if he's not doing anything, then if he is, then I'll get someone that we know and he comes over. If he's here, then he goes, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere today. You can go. I'll stay home." But
But eventually he's gonna move out. Okay, which is
he's getting boxes, so I guess it's gonna happen. But as far as
Do you think he's aware of that? That he's someday
Brian?
Yeah. I mean, does he doesn't think in terms of time?
I don't think
future?
so. I don't think so.
He thinks about what's going on right now.
I know.
probably.
Because even you say you have to wait in a little while, I don't know what he understands about a little while.
Yeah.
Or not now, you have to wait.
There are things that you're surprised that he understands, and there are things that are just common sense that you would think he understands and he doesn't. So with him being nonverbal, it's very difficult to figure out what he does understand, what he doesn't
It's
understand.
great that they have those devices. I mean,
Yes.
we
Right.
found out that Zoe understood all sorts of things that we had no idea she understood.
Right.
And that's a cool thing.
And now with the community have, Brian can load and unload the dishwasher. He wipes the counters. He actually vacuums. He has to be guided because, mover, but he waters my plants.
He has some chores now,
Yeah.
where we kind of shielded him for many, many years.
But he has to do chores, otherwise you cannot just sit watch TV. He waters my house plants. He waters the outside plants. He rides his scooter in the neighborhood. He takes a walk because he's pretty quiet around
By
here.
himself?
No, with his staff.
With staff.
With staff.
So tell me about about the staff. Like what kind of help do you get?
So Brian refused to go to programs since last August, to adult program. So he was already approved by OPWD for community hub. We just needed to get staff. So with DDI and our service coordinator, we had to kind of twitch the little things around, and then we had someone that we knew, but she needed to go for training and certification to be able to work for DDI, and she already knew Brian, and she wanted a job anyhow. So we got her involved, and she got trained. So now we had 3 different staff, because besides the hours for community help, they also work in other programs of DDI. So then when that got all set up, we had one individual come in from 9
9.
to 11:30. Then another individual coming from 11:30 to 2, and another person coming from 2 to 6:30.
Not only to work with Brian, but to give us some time to go to do our jobs, because we do have jobs.
We have full-time jobs, and we need to have full-time jobs. Like I carry the health insurance, so I need my job. So, and with that, we were able to accommodate this whole thing. I mean, you have,
Insurance pays for that? For the care that he gets?
State.
The state pays for it?
Yeah, it's all through PWD, Medicaid, through Medicaid.
So
because he's an adult, he
He's
can
an
be on
adult.
Medicaid.
Yeah.
Right.
And you, I guess, you have to become guardians legally?
We
Yes.
are. I have my husband and I, our son, and my 2 brothers are standby guardians. It's all in place. I did the whole paperwork and everything.
So staff, basically what they do with him, their main focus when they first came on board was to try to get him back to program, any which way they could. But in the meantime, while he wasn't going to program, their objective was to have him go into the community to do different things, recycling, go out to the library, just to get him doing things.
The mall, the park.
His spot in his regular day program was quickly becoming in jeopardy because of his absence. So about a month and a half ago, I took matters into my own hands, and I got him back to program. Even just for the first time, 15 minutes, say hello, how are you? Next time, about 45 minutes, and now he's going from 9 o'clock till 1 o'clock. So little by little it's working. We're getting him back into the routine, getting him back into the program. We have a plan.
Still some days that he's off, like today. If mommy's home, that's it. He's not gonna go with anybody else.
Right. He didn't want any part of the program today because my wife was home today. Eventually, we want to get him back full time in the program. Okay.
Yeah, I want him to go to the program because he socializes with other individuals. They have a schedule that is every day is a different thing, and they have to follow that schedule, which is good for him.
Structure.
Yes.
Structure. Structure and routine. If when you get him off routines and whatever, he gets all
It's confusing.
And but I want to keep community help. He was going to respite, and I think it was a very long day for him.
Respite was after the day program, 2:30. They would take him to another facility where they basically let them do whatever they want to do. You know, so
Could you spell the name of that?
respite.
It's respite.
Yes,
Okay.
RESPITE. It was also run by DDI, but at a different building. He was going, but it was a long day. They were picking him up here at 8:30 in the morning. He wasn't coming home sometimes till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. So now, when we get him back to program, we hope we're going to eliminate that afternoon thing.
And you get to have this kind of options. You get to make these choices.
Yes,
yourselves.
because right now, since he was approved for community hab, we could have the community hab person, if Brian does go back permanently to program, then we could have the community hab people be here for him.
Well, pick him up. If this works out as we're thinking, you'll go to the day program until 2:45. The community hab staff will pick him up there, and then from there they can go do stuff in the community, come back home, have a snack or so forth, and then do some other leisure activities of daily living, like him learning how to, load and unload the dishwasher and, wash his hands properly.
He knows he's being useful and helpful when he's doing those things.
Yeah, again, he likes verbal
It's a chore
praise.
for him, though. He doesn't like it.
He's a verbal praise, so you say good job, and he'll look at you to, for approval and assurance.
And he understands that he's.
Oh, yes.
That he knows when approval happens.
Yes. Good job, high fives. He understands all that. He smiles, and actually, he has some kind of he's funny, and he finds, also some kind of humor when he watches things, because he laughs and he'll go back and repeat it on his movies.
Right. I guess because he's not verbal, when he laughs, does he laugh out loud?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He does. And another thing, the year before, we took him to Manhattan on the train. We have taken him a few times. He loves the train ride, the Long Island Railroad.
I hated it for 30 years, but he loves it.
He liked it. And he sits by the window and he just looks. We went to see the Christmas tree at the Rockefeller Center, and he was laughing his tail off of people that fell in the ice. He was
Skating
just
in the Rockefeller Center?
laughing. We went to St. Patrick's, and he did very well. He sat on the pew, walked around.
Does he go to church? If you go to church?
We don't take him to church. We go to church every week.
We used to, but then he used to, when the priest was talking or singing, he used to kind of...
He would stim. This was during his stimming time,
go really loud, like...
What is stim?
Stimming
Stimulatory behaviors.
Like clapping his hands or yelling or whatever. Yes. Holding his hands to his chin. That's stimming.
Yeah, he used to yell like he was singing with them, but, very loud.
Yeah.
And then was disruptive to the congregation, so we decided it was better.
But when you took him to the city and take him on outings, even though he's such a big boy, he's manageable?
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, he'll try to run away, run further, faster than we could walk or everything. Actually, she was walking with a cane that day, so we had to really corral him a little bit because he wanted to start darting through people and stuff like that. It rained like crazy on our way home, when we were still in the city. So he was a little upset that he got wet, I think.
No, but I think he likes to walk fast. He's not just in the city, he's everywhere. Brian, you have to go slow, and otherwise you have to hold his hand to hold him back, because that's his thing. He wants to do everything fast, walk fast, everything. That's him.
I guess different people have different speeds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whatever their special needs or not. What would you say? I guess you were lucky in that you had a neighbor who had been there, not exactly the same, but before you. This neighbor who helped you early on.
Right.
Oh yes.
What would you say to a couple or a single mom or single dad who they just got the diagnosis, or they, early in the process, they're overwhelmed, they don't know what to do? That's kind of what we're trying to do with the app, is to give them resources.
Sure.
What would you say to them?
Right now, autism is everywhere. You always know a friend or a friend of a friend. Is always, I know in Long Island, is Parent to Parent Network is a very good group or organization that can connect you with other parents in your neighborhood.
Parent to Parent?
Parent to Parent Network. Actually, I have signed with them, and I had Brian on a gluten-free diet and the whole thing, and they asked me if I could speak to some ladies and tell them where I get my supplements and where I can order, because I used to go to all the conferences and meet all these vendors and everything. So parent to parent network, internet.
Our own network.
Oh, we have a whole network.
Yeah, we didn't really get into this whole thing. During his school age, we got very involved with DDI. As a parent, you have to be your child's best advocate. And both my wife and I became members of the board of directors of the DDI Parents Association. That association was formed many, many years ago from parents of children that were being serviced by DDI. It's changed its name recently to DDI Family Advocacy and Support Network.
We have a Facebook page.
We have a Facebook page. We're still on the board, my wife and I. It used to be a quasi fundraising group, but now it's more of an advocacy and support network. All 4 facilities that are run by DDI, through the school age programs, all funneled through this parent association. We try to reach out to families,
we post
whenever.
all different things. They can post a question. I'm always posting everything, things that come on the disability scoop, Autism Speaks, everything, all new therapies, what you can do. I'm always posting stuff on the Facebook page. Other parents post other things.
Yeah, so let's connect that to talking to that new mom or new dad who's early in this process.
Right.
What would you say about all of this to them? Imagine
well, first of all, I would say to a parent who has received the diagnosis to accept it. A lot of parents are in denial.
We've met a few of them.
Okay, accept it. It's there. It's real.
I guess you do have to verify it.
No, of course you have to verify it. But see, here's the thing.
But rather than saying, it's a phase, he's going to get,
right.
It's going to get better any day.
A lot of children get diagnosed at a very early age with autism. Okay, some people paint these rosy pictures that don't always come true. Okay, there's been some very noted celebrities who have claimed to fix their children, who have claimed to my child is cured. You're never going to cure autism. I'm sorry.
Even Asperger's, which is high functioning autism, is always a social awkwardness. Is always something there.
Right.
You're never going to be 100% atypical, like you say, what's normal, but it's always something. And if you accept it and move on and try to help the child to the best of your ability, that he can learn and somehow function and can develop and learn stuff, that's a plus. You have to accept the fact I'm going to help him. I cried when I learned. And then I said, wait, either I feel sorry for myself or I'm going to help him. We had people come to the house and do like extra hours for him, pay out of pocket. We did.
Nobody paid.
Therapies. We, like secreting therapies. We've tried
everything in the world that we could. Whenever you heard something as a parent of a child with autism, you hear things on the internet. You'll go to the ends of the earth to find this for your child. Just to see if it'll help. Like she says, we tried with something called secretin therapy that came out many, many years ago. Being in the business that I was in Wall Street, I made mention to one guy that we found a doctor who was going to do a study on secretin therapy. And I told him, but she needs funding. And less than 2 days, my broker partners and friends on the floor raised $75,000
for the whole group,
and handed it to this doctor for
the study. Was not just our son, was quite a few in the study.
Right. But with one condition that my son and another
Broker has to
another
be in that
broker's
study.
daughter had to be involved in a study. Unfortunately, the study was inconclusive, but we didn't give up there. We found a doctor in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, who would continue to administer secretin to my son.
And he improved.
We did that out of pocket for a year and a half. There was some improvement, but nothing. What we were looking for, what we were searching for, was vocalization, and that never happened.
The improvement was in his BMs. He used to
Don't
be
go there.
awful, but he regulated, because a lot of the young children have a big, huge problem with that.
Gastrointestinal problems. That's
Yes.
what, there are a lot of children with autism suffer from that.
Really?
So it helped there, but it didn't help with what we were looking for.
So, and the problem manifests with discomfort, or they have diarrhea.
Oh,
Terrible bowel movements.
I would have to change him like 7 times, and BMs don't smell good, but I actually had to block my nostrils to be able to change him.
Well, we've done
And that
chelation
got better.
therapy.
That
Yeah,
got somewhat better.
a little bit.
Yeah,
We
did.
tried chelation therapy with a doctor here on Long Island. There's proven numbers that children with autism tend to have high levels of mercury in their system,
And yes,
and we followed up with a doctor here on Long Island,
Dr. Boris.
and he did what's called chelation therapy. That's try to get the heavy metals out of the system, and that helped a little bit, but Brian couldn't tolerate it, so we
Yeah,
had to get him
Brian
off of it.
Brian refused, because you have to be careful, because you have to, a week you do chelation, but then you have to get off of it, otherwise you deplete him out all the minerals. So
But
that you cannot
like I said, just going back to the what we would suggest to parents, be your kid's best advocate. Okay, whatever you hear, find out more about it.
Yes, and start therapy and ABA program. ABA program is very helpful to work and somehow teach the children with autism. And the earlier you start the therapy, the better.
What is ABA program?
Applied behavior analysis.
ABA, in the true sense of the word, if you look and you watch a therapist
Work
doing ABA,
when you first start.
it looks like you're training a dog.
So let me actually back up a little bit, because we have to be careful about giving advice through this app, because
Right.
there are liability issues.
Uh-huh.
So can you talk about experience that you have had with ABA?
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
because this way it's just your experience rather than saying
No,
people should or shouldn't do something.
The agencies, DDI uses ABA,
Mhm.
applied behavior analysis, which is Lova's method that many
Okay,
years
tell me
ago.
a little bit more about that, a little bit.
They have cards. It's a therapy that they use cards, and the child is a repetitive method of teaching. And sometimes to accomplish a goal, you go in steps, sometimes from the end to the beginning, for the child to actually, after so many weeks, will develop that skill of selecting or learning that particular thing. Or red, dog,
And
chair.
any little task that they're working on with the child basically is continued repetitive, and every time the child accomplishes what they're trying to do, they
gets
get
a reward.
rewarded. They get, what do they call those? Reinforcers.
Reinforcers. They have primary reinforcers, which when they're younger, usually food. And then they have other reinforcers. Say, Brian will have a reinforcer, but for him now, a reinforcer will be a DVD. You wanted me to do this, but you
Cause and effect. You finish this puzzle, you're
You
going to
get
get
this.
this.
He understands that he's going to get the reward after a while. The
Well, that's what ABA is
repetition-
all about.
The
Yeah.
repetition, he
Yes,
knows. If
they
he
know.
does this, you're going to get something good.
Yes,
Right.
and then they work for tokens. As they get older, then they learn more. And then the primaries become something else, because now I don't really want to do this for food. You have to give me something else. Then they go to the token method. Okay, you get 3 tokens. You're gonna go see this video. So as the different stages of the ABA goes, the reinforcers change, and the child learns.
And this has been positive for the quality of his life.
Yes.
And
Big.
quality of your
And
life.
if you speak to other individuals, they tell you ABA therapy. Because, we have tried, like my husband said, all the other things that came up with, but I think the applied behavior analysis, they learn.
And that's the basis. That's basically the basis of a lot of programs. You know,
Is
DDI being one of them.
not just DDI, but all of them. You have the Martin Burrell School, which is in Comac, which is the Mass of Suffolk. I work for the Suffolk Y, and they're right next to us. The Eden School. If you speak to all of them, they use the ABA program.
College students now are taking classes in ABA, so they could work that method. You know, when if they go into the special needs community. So.
Actually, the Disability Scoop, if you go to their web page, they offer take these courses and get extra blah 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 to teach ABA.
Okay, that's great. So, but I guess it is important for people to be realistic and to understand and accept the situation,
yes.
Right.
And then see, okay,
Yes.
now what do we do?
And
Right.
don't go all these expectations. Oh, my son is going to go mainstreamed, and that doesn't happen.
I mean,
And-
some individuals do. Some individuals can be mainstreamed into, you know, a regular public school or whatever. Some could be, you know, could do it by themselves. Some could do it with a shadow. But you gotta recognize your own child. You gotta
Yes.
recognize.
And and not every child is high functioning. You have a lot of, you see OPWDD on the things that they focused
Positive.
or the program. They did a lot of the settings for higher functioning. You have a lot of the individuals, like individuals from DDI, that they're not as high functioning, and you need different settings in different programs to help him grow and learn, because they still learning. Brian learns. He's 23 and he's still learning.
You'll be learning his
So
whole
it's
life.
different settings, and not every child is gonna be mainstreamed, and you cannot. Oh, my child is not gonna be like that. You have to accept, move on, and see what the child can accomplish. And just because he cannot be mainstream doesn't mean he cannot learn. They learn. Brian learned a lot of things. I mean, he's a nonverbal individual that uses a computer, uses an iPad. He does his own sorting of movies. He actually files. He'll use a copy machine. He'll shred papers. So he learns.